Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video, guys. And today's Left 4 Dead 2 video, we're going to be doing another Left 4 Dead ranking video. In this ranking video, we're going to be doing something really fun, because you guys probably were never expecting me to rank this, actually. So this will be a fun video just for this topic alone. But yeah, guys, you have seen the title, you have seen the thumbnail. We're going to be ranking all the Left 4 Dead comic books. Now, you might be wondering what I'm talking about. There is a Left 4 Dead comic, you may be asking? Well, yes, my friends, there actually is a pair of Left 4 Dead comics. Now, I do want to clarify things that this is one Gigundo story, but they are in 4 parts. And since they are 4 parts and they are separate PDFs, therefore I am considering them as separate comics, even though it's technically one story. So that's why we're able to make a ranking video, because otherwise it would only end up being just the one comic, and then technically you wouldn't be able to rank just the one comic, because then the number 1 spot would be every single other spot, so... But yeah, guys, we're going to be ranking the Left 4 Dead comics. There is technically 4 of them, or in this case, 4 parts, and I'm predominantly going to be ranking them based off of the character backstories, because this is a Sacrifice comic based off of the Left 4 Dead Sacrifice campaign, and in the parts... The most noticeable thing about each individual chapter, or each individual part, is that every single one of these parts gives a background and actually some information on all the original Left 4 Dead 1 characters. Part 1 being on Lewis, Part 2 being on Zoe, Part 3 being on Francis, and then Part 4 finally being on Bill. So, the idea behind how I want to end up doing this video is that I'm going to be having all the parts count as their own category, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to make a ranking video out of this. In addition, secondly, I just want to let you guys know is that I'm predominantly going to be ranking this mostly on the character backstories, because that is where it has the most meat on its bones, and it almost makes the parts more individualized, because if we were not necessarily ranking them on the characters alone, and we're just ranking them for just the story as the whole, I feel like it would be kind of boring, because it would be like, in part 1, Bill shoots this particular thing over this particular thing, and there happens to be a flashback in here at some point. I feel like that would just be kind of boring. If you guys would, for whatever reason, like me to go back over this again, then I definitely would be able to, for sure. But I'm treating them in accordance to the character backstories. I have plans on making a separate video in the future, just ranking character backstories in general based off of the lore, and not this alone, because this only has Left 4 Dead 1. There is no Left 4 Dead 2 crew comics officially posted by Valve, and I hope they do that one day, because right now there's only fan-made ones. So yeah, guys, I have the intention on making a future video where I'm ranking all the characters' backstories in accordance to just the characters in general. But this, I'm technically ranking them in the form of comic books, even though it predominantly is based off of character stories, because that's where the meat is in this, this ranking. So yeah, guys, I hope you understand, and I understand that it is kind of convoluted the way I word that, but I just want to let you guys know what I'm actively thinking. So yeah, guys, we're going to be ranking all the Left 4 Dead 2 comic books from worst to best. If you guys end up enjoying this video, and you guys do want to see more Left 4 Dead 2 ranking videos, please show your support by dropping a like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, guys, let's rank all the stories. And by the way, before we get into the very first spot, this is the spoiler warning right now. If you do not want to see any spoilers for this comic book, do not proceed with the video until you have read them in full, because this is where the spoilers come, just in case you guys want to read them. I will provide a link down below in the description. Alrighty guys, so coming in at the very first spot here, this is going to end up being part 2 of the Sacrifice comics, and this is going to revolve around Zoe's backstory. Now, I'm going to be showing the backstory on screen right here. If you guys want to read the actual dialogue, you can pause the video accordingly from when I skip over the pieces. I will show you the full entire thing about the backstory, at least, by scrolling through, but I'm not going to be showing you the rest of the comic. But if you, like I said, want to read the whole entire thing, there's a link down below. If you want to pause the video, you can also do that too. But yeah, let's get into Zoe's backstory. So the way that they handle Zoe's backstory is that she's having a dinner with her mom and dad, and talking basically about stuff that's upsetting her parents. They're talking about basically how that Zoe wasn't doing so hot in school, and basically all that she did was just slack off and just watch horror movies. So she was basically being a stereotypical college girl, just, basically not caring for her academics, and just messing around and just having fun with her friends. Now, because of this, her parents kind of get into a heated debate where they're starting to argue about this, And eventually what happens is that in the middle of their argument, a zombie walks into their apartment. Now, the zombie, however, though, since this is only 2 days in the apocalypse, nobody realizes that this is truly a zombie. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is because they just think it's just a normal sick, like, homeless person, Zoe's dad tries to point a gun at him and threaten him to leave, obviously not knowing that the zombie's not going to care because it has no control over anything other than its instincts. Now, unfortunately, what Zoe's dad does next results in someone dying. Basically, what he ends up doing is he tries to warn the guy that he's going to shoot him while he's proceeding to get his handgun, but unfortunately, doing so results in Zoe's mom getting bit. She gets bit on the face. There is no way that they can amputate this even if they want to, and this results in the mom end up severely injured, and they all start panicking, and as Zoe's dad is telling Zoe to go call 911 while the dad is monitoring her, basically what happens is that Zoe, while she's calling 911, her mother ends up actually coming back to life as a zombie already within a matter of like a few seconds. It's pretty ridiculous. It's probably under a minute. And ends up biting now Zoe's dad, severely injuring him. This ends up resulting in Zoe having to kill her own zombified mother alongside with her dad. Even though her dad is the one that pulls the trigger, it still probably traumatized Zoe just as much. And then what happens is that as Zoe's trying to take care of her dad knows that, you know, he's kaput. He knows that he's not going to be getting out of this anytime soon. And unfortunately, this is his end. And he tries to bond with his daughter one last time over one of the things that she truly loves, which is horror movies. And he does make a little joke right before his very last moments talking about how that Zoe would always end up being disappointed in horror movies where someone would have to put down someone that they love, hinting at that what Zoe's dad's last request is. And then we end up getting a Walking Dead Clementine-esque type of ending to this story where Zoe has to shoot her dad. This is a very sad story, and it's definitely the most upsetting out of the four. Zoe's story doesn't really have any like humor to it or anything particularly uplifting. It's just sad kind of from the get-go. All it is just her parents arguing up until they end up dying. And that's just sad. That's literally all it is. This ending and this whole entire story behind Zoe is sad. But however, though, this is what makes Zoe Zoe. Because of what happens to her parents and how the zombie apocalypse affected her life, it made her into the badass woman she is today. It made her more caring, it made her want to try to save as many people as she can, and it made her the zombie survivor that we know her as, because she knew right off the bat that what this really was. It wasn't some sort of flu, this was life and death. And she knew that she had to protect the ones that she loved, so that is why throughout the whole entire story of Left 4 Dead, she cares so much about Francis, Lewis, and Bill. And that's how we end up getting Zoe. Now, even though, yes, like I said, the ending and the whole entire story behind it is sad, without the character development, we wouldn't get who we end up having today for our crew. So even though some can't be perfect endings, at least the good news is, though, is that it didn't end up being as bad as it could be, because it always can be worse in my eyes. Alrighty, guys, coming in at the next spot, this is going to end up being Lewis for part 1 of the sacrifice. Now, with Lewis's story takes place when he is at work at his office job, and he's just trying to get his one friend, Ray, on the phone to come into work, because he does not want to due to the virus that is being spread everywhere. He is very, very cautious, he doesn't want to get infected, and he very much worries. Now, Lewis is trying to reassure him, basically telling him, like, hey, you don't gotta worry about it, man. You're more likely to end up getting, hurt or infected not coming to work than you are coming to work. And so he's trying to be that good guy friend. Or, in this case, he's trying to be the responsible one, but what ends up happening is when he goes to the restroom to end up taking a bathroom break, he's finishing up his phone call and just messing around on his phone using the restroom, and then this one guy is in the bathroom with him, messing around with him, trying to get his attention, and Lewis is starting to get peeved off. And eventually what happens is that blood's everywhere inside the restroom all of a sudden, and Lewis ends up realizing that the person that was in the restroom with him was somebody that was sick and ended up becoming a zombie, and the zombie ends up biting Lewis. And now this next part is really, really fun to read, because what ends up happening is that Lewis ends up growing a massive schlong.
I have several questions.
I legitimately had no idea how bad that sounded until I'm watching the video while editing. I am so sorry if any of you walked in on that. If YouTube demonetizes me, it wouldn't surprise me. YouTube, I wouldn't blame you on that one. I'm not even joking you. He gets like some cojones right here. Yeah, there's no way I'm getting around that one. And he ends up brutally murdering this zombie. Like, hand-to-hand combat, he bashes the zombie's skull in with the paper towel dispenser. And it's just blood everywhere. It is demonetizable worthy. It is ridiculous. And the thing is, though, is that we never end up getting this from Lewis almost ever in the game. Because Lewis is that one fun, uplifting guy, and more of the, calmer type in the group, rather like someone like, let's say, Francis, who you would expect to do something like this. But when you see this from Lewis, it's just like, wow, damn, Lewis, I got some respect for you. You got some balls. Like, instead of wussing out and, like, screaming like a little bitch, he just destroys the zombie. It's almost, like, completely opposite of his personality to suddenly just become, like, this just destroying machine. I don't know why, but for some reason seeing Lewis smash a zombie's skull in right after he just got bit while trying to take a massive dump, that's just cool to me. I don't know why. And then eventually what ends up happening is that he ends up going to the busted open window of his office, which wasn't there originally, so I'm guessing that the whole office had a breakout of zombies. And he just sits down and he just listens to his answering machine while he's just thinking about what the hell just happened. Very, very great story. A lot more uplifting or more action-y in general, more rather than, like, let's say, Zoe's story. So that's why I gotta put it at number 2. So that is Lewis's story. Now it's ranked the last 2. Alrighty guys, now coming in at the number 2 spot, this is going to end up being part 3 of the Sacrifice comics, and this is going to be Francis's backstory. Now, with this particular backstory, or this particular comic rather, we end up getting the backstory of how Francis ended up basically becoming the badass, funny, smartass zombie killer that we know him as today. Essentially what happens is that he's ending up robbing a place to try to get a TV, and he ends up getting busted by the cops. Now, there's this kind of this funny dialogue just straight off the rip about him just teasing the cop and joking around saying that he's a cop, which I think is really funny because it is in smartass Francis fashion. And then eventually somehow he ends up going back to his buddies. I don't know if he like escaped or got on bail. It says in the story that he ran away, so I'm assuming that he only ran away. I can't imagine that he got arrested and then let go. So yeah, he's talking to his buddies, and then after a while just socializing with him, he's going to end up trying to sleeping with this one girl called Sandra. And what happens is that when he's starting to get down and freaky with her, she ends up becoming extremely freaky and starts turning into a zombie. I've noticed a trend with zombies either running into these characters or they end up turning into a zombie. So yeah, the girl ends up turning into a zombie and bites Francis on the neck, which I'm surprised that honestly that did not kill him, because even though Francis is technically immune, if you get like a chomp on your neck, that could really, really screw you over. That could really kill you fast. So I'm surprised that he lived, but luckily that is a good thing, because otherwise we wouldn't have one of my favorite characters. And yeah, essentially what happens is that from that point onward, his buddies end up killing her, and they're all debating about what to do, and then there's conspiracy theories for some reason at some point in the next piece of dialogue with his buddies. And then what happens is that Francis decides, you know what, hey, I was expecting, to end up going to jail anyways, I've got nothing else left to lose, I'm just going to end up having some fun. So he realizes that despite the zombie apocalypse, he's going to end up enjoying himself, and he's going to tell his buddies to end up getting a jukebox, bring it up onto the roof of the building that they're in, he's going to grab a sniper rifle, and he's going to pop some zombie heads until he has cleared out a horde that is down below beneath him. That is really, really good. This is one of my favorite stories. But you guys know, one of my favorite characters has got his story still yet to come up, so let's talk about it. Alrighty guys, coming in at the number 1 spot, this is going to be the Sacrifice comic part 4 with Bill's backstory. Now, with this particular backstory, Bill is in a veterans hospital undergoing a surgery. Now, I don't know what surgery he would be getting. I mean, Bill's really, really old, but I've never heard anything in the game about him having any particular illness, so maybe it's just never said, because I never find it in the comic, and I never find it in the in-game dialogue. But you guys can let me know if he's got any particular problem other than just being old for something. But yeah, he's going to try to get some sort of surgery because he's going to be put under. He's actually on anesthetics. But what happens is though, right before he's about to go to sleep, literally right before Bill blacks out, he's able to notice what's going on around him, and he has just enough of his wit left to be able to fight back against the now turned zombie staff. Now, I don't know about you guys, I don't know about you, but particular for me, this is my experience with anesthetics. when you are on, like, sleeping gas, that stuff is strong. That stuff will knock you flat on your ass. I have only ever had it once for my own medical needs, but I will tell you this, dudes, that resisting it or not, that stuff is strong, and you will fall asleep unless you've got, like, a really strong will to live. I gotta assume that it's a mixture of fear and adrenaline on Bill's half, because I don't know how the hell he would be able to power through it. Because even though he only ended up having it for like 2 seconds, 2 seconds on this thing is pretty damn strong with sleeping gas. But he's able to get by just enough that he's able to retreat and end up finding a set of weapons and his veteran clothes. And then what happens is that he ends up getting home, getting into his gear, and getting all set up. And then eventually the story now transitions to the current time where Bill is the badass zombie-killing old man that we know him as today. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it here for today's video. I truly hope you guys ended up enjoying. And if you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe and all that beautiful stuff. We are super, super close to 1,900 subscribers. So if you want to join us on the journey, please definitely feel free to do so. I'd love to end up having you guys be a part of the Mean Lord Army. But yeah, guys, I hope you ended up enjoying today's video. One last time, if you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with me, all my social medias are linked down below in the description. And I hope you guys end up enjoying another YouTube video from the most unique YouTuber you guys are ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys, and peace out.